What's up, everybody? Welcome back, the Front Porch Chronicles. I'm your host, Clinton Foshee, and we don't just talk about what people do around here. We dig into who they are as a person. And this guy has been fighting in and out of the cage for a long time. I've wanted to get him on for a minute. I'm glad he finally got on. Tony Yost is in the house. Thank you, brother, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man. I know you messaged me a while ago, and as soon as you messaged me, I was like, oh, yeah, definitely excited to get on, and I'm glad our time frames linked up.
Definitely. So let me ask you this. Let's take it all the way back.
Okay.
Who was Anthony Yost before the lights, before the gloves, as a kid? Who was he?
Man, it was just me and the boys, man. I was starting in sixth grade. Kind of me and my friends started a skateboarding team. You know, it was kind
Yeah.
of one of them 507 skateboarding. Shout out Albert Lee. And all my boys. And really, man, I was just a skater. I was just a skinny, jean wearing, long haired punk that liked to skate around town. That's what we did, man. We had like bonfires and stuff like that. But really, it was just we'd wake up at the earliest possible. We would all skate to each other's houses, get together, and we wouldn't be home till dark. That's just kind of video games and skating. That's the kid I was.
I remember back in the day, like when I was a kid, and I'm old, we used to have to get out of the house and
Hmm.
then you couldn't come in till the street lights come on. So it was the same thing. I was
Yeah, I was the last
biker.
generation. Last generation that did that, man. I was born in '93. We were like the last generation that was allowed to like go and bike to our friend's house, and that was it.
Thinking back to being a kid, what was the first memory that really shaped who you are today?
It's actually pretty personal. So it's kind of cool that I get to say this. Is I was in sixth grade, and before I get started, I'm not going to take anything away from this guy. He is my grandpa, but he was raised in a different time frame, and what really shaped me was one day I remember slamming the door because my mom said I could go out with my friends, and he lived with us. He's from Texas, Mexican biker dude, gloves, chain, V-neck, suspenders, heavier set, little biker stash, Mexican slicked haired back. And I told him, my mom said I could go, and he said no, and I basically told him to fuck off. I remember he gave me a look. I told my friends to go. I slammed the door. He chased me up the stairs, drug me off the bed, kind of picked me up, kind of like, and then I remember uppercutting him, and then crying, running out the house. The only thing I got was you remember them like CD, like we'd burn CDs. Well, I had
Yeah.
like all I collected, man, out of there, and I just grabbed my CD case, ran outside, and that right there really shaped me because in that moment I was like, if I'm willing to defend myself against my grandpa, I'm never gonna let another grown man treat me this way. So that right there, like he was a hands-on disciplined type of guy, but that was a huge part in my life where my mindset was like flipped, and I'm like, never again will I allow something like this to happen. So that right there kind of gave me that moment where I'm like, I'm gonna shoot to get out of here. I'm gonna do whatever I can to find my, I don't know if muse is the right word, but to find a way to be successful. Like 11, 12.
Similar, mine was a little bit older, but probably was 13 or 14. Finally stood up to my dad. And similar to you, I kind of was like, hey, you know what? That switch
Mm-hmm.
flipped. And I was like, no, I'm not going to let anybody. I have to kind of step up for myself. What was a moment in life that you realized things aren't always going to be fair? And how did you handle
It was a little bit before that happened with my grandpa because my grandpa moved from Texas in with us because at the time I grew up with my grandma. Like my mom worked a lot. I used to grow up in my grandma's house. She watched me all the time. And it was when she passed away. And I was like, how can somebody so sweet, something like this happen to somebody? You know what I mean? And
it?
like now
Yeah.
I understand it when I'm older, but in that moment I realized like, yo, life is not fair. She taught me love, like real love. Even my mom and them will say, like she raised me up until that point. You know what I mean? So like when she passed away, it kind of really realized I was like, okay, life is a little bit different than I thought it was growing up. So I had to grow up quick.
How did that shift your mind?
Being the oldest boy was kind of like okay. I was at the funeral and I saw my mom, my cousins, all of them. It was just like okay, it's my turn to step up, and I am the black sheep of the family, and it's my turn to change theirs. I've always had that mindset of everything I've ever gone through and bad was like okay, now this is gonna fuel the fire to be better. I'm gonna make it out of here. I'm gonna be that one in my family that does what I can to inspire everybody. So like that's even at such a young age, I've always had, even if it was skating at the time, I'm gonna be a pro skater. You know, like I put everything I could into everything I was doing until I fell into fighting, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. So it's always been, what can I do to make my family proud, to make up for all the bad things the elders, you know, had to go through, or my cousins had to go through, the hunger, the deaths, you know, shit like that. And just
breaking the generational,
yes. I wanted that pressure. I wanted that feeling of like, I'm gonna do this. Even that's what it was. So I would have to say about 10 or 11 when she passed away, and then when that happened with Frank, that kind of really like settled the deal. I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Like I'm gonna do something, because I defended myself, and at that young of an age, it's like, shoot, if I can defend myself against a grown up, I can do anything.
So who was your first real example of strength, and what did they teach you without even saying that?
That's a good one, my man. I've actually never thought of that, but it would have to be my father. My dad's always been, I come from a blue collar household, and my dad has always done everything he could to work hard. Like even through the times, we only got to see him like once a week and every other weekends, but the times we were there, I mean, he sat out there, and if I wanted to be a pitcher in baseball, a traveling ball, he sat out there and let me throw 20, 30 pitches, you know, nonstop over and over and over again. I broke car windows, you know, so like he just showed me like what it was to, I guess, be a man.
Be present.
Yeah, be present. And he also did shoot for his dreams too. My dad was a good ball player, and he did try out for like the minor leagues a couple times. So he always kind of like inspired me to shoot for my dreams.
Thinking back to how you were raised, what's one lesson that you learned that you still use in your life today?
I would have to say to just, man, I've never really, you got some good questions, my man. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm really enjoying this one. A lesson that I take with me now is, I would have to say, keep going. Like, no matter what happens, like my mom, I lived with my mom, so this is a good thing on my mom, but she was a single mom of, 5 kids, and we lived from hotel to hotel. She ran the hotels. It's not like we lived from room to room, but she ran hotels, so we jumped from there. But it just showed me that I take that lesson with me, that like no matter where I come from, I can do anything. And my mom taught me that one. She might not have worked as hard, as my dad did, but she also worked hard in a different way. So she taught me some good valuable lessons that I take with me now. Just keep going.
It's funny how our
basically.
Parents can teach us things like on different ends of the spectrum.
Not even trying either,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
when I was younger, I despised him for it. I was like, I only get to see my dad once a week. I was like, he doesn't want to do much, stuff like this. My mom, blah, blah, blah. And like now that I'm older, I completely realize like my childhood was never as bad as I thought it was. And I really love the way my parents raised me, the way they did. Freedom, really. They just let me be the person I am. Like they let me go out and skateboard and hang out. And I didn't have a curfew, my siblings, they did. They didn't get to go out like I did. It's crazy.
Yeah. And the things that we pass down to our kids. I make sure that with my kids, I'm present for everything. School functions, like, it kind of like you. I wanted to break that generational curse stuff. So all of that stuff that I went through as a kid and the things that I wanted and needed that I didn't get, I try to pass down to my kids, feeling wanted, feeling needed, and feeling,
Yep. Not so like a little bit like it's the little things like every night I make sure I tell my kids good night. Every night, me and my wife, we have a routine. We go on there, we say good night. I kiss their forehead. I say good night to my little dog because he tends to jump up on me too. But that's something like my parents didn't do. It's a little bit different, but that's just, I do little things like that. It's like I don't despise them for it. It's just the little things like that I try to do different. Be more present, do a little bit more things. I bring my kids. Like my dad used to bring us to a softball games, but then he wouldn't hang out with us. So I bring my kids to our fights, and we, I do everything. They get to go backstage with us and all that stuff.
Speaking of fatherhood, how did becoming a father change you as a fighter and kind of in general?
In general, at the time, it didn't. I look back at it now, and it changed me in a way where I was able to get sober. I was into pharmaceuticals for a little bit.
Yeah.
For years, and I've been sober since my daughter's been born, and she's gonna be 12. And so it kind of bettered me in that way, but it took some time to really process of like what it meant to be a father. I mean, I just don't think even now I didn't learn what it was to be a true father up until the last couple of years, into my later 20s and, now early 30s. Because back then I would say it changed me, but I was still just trying to, my fighting, I was still smoking cigarettes. I was still going in there, not training the way I needed to. I didn't start taking it serious until I seen my kids were old enough to realize what I was doing. And now I put that example in there. They're in the gym with us 4 or 5 times a week. They train. Their coach is my coach, so like I would have to say it didn't change me as a man or a father until recently, honestly. I think the most honest answer. When I was younger, I was just like, I
think it was one of those things that, and no disrespect to our parents or that generation, didn't know what it was to be present. We didn't know what it was to show love and care about emotion, especially as men. We weren't taught that. Like, we were taught, suck it up, push through.
Yep.
Your
dreams your dreams don't matter. Your feelings don't matter. The only thing that matters is you're going to go work your ass off. You're going to come home and hopefully your wife has some food and you're going to tell your kids goodnight. Being a blue collar worker, that is the life I was raised in, where like you work long hours, you come home, you say goodnight. And sometimes on the weekends you do stuff, but you do stuff for yourself. So like present-wise, you know what I mean? Like I said, my dad, I seen him a couple times a week. He was always at softball games. He was bowling. He was doing stuff like that. So I try my best to be as present as possible.
What's one lesson that you hope your kids learn from watching you chase your dreams?
This is something I like to tell people, and I don't think I've ever said it on camera, but I hope they take this saying and they ride with it. Motivation is a word to stop you from chasing your dreams. Discipline is a word that will help you achieve them. And I hope one day they will completely, fully understand what that means, and they ride with it the rest of their life, because nobody wants to get up and go to work. But guess what? Those are a necessity. So your body's a necessity. You got to treat your body like you treat your bills. You get up, you go eat healthy, you go to the gym. It doesn't matter if you're a pro fighter or not a pro fighter. Your body, your brain, your heart, there's a few things that you cannot replace. So you need to take care of them. So discipline will get you there.
100%. What's something that you've learned from your kids that has surprised you?
How to learn to love myself. It's that's really, don't really need to go into detail with it, I think, because like it's one of them things where like I just would, as a parent, as a man, with a mom, we have a tendency to beat ourselves up. But to see my kids watch me lose twice, disappointingly, I got knocked out, you know what I mean? And then for them to see that smile after I won, but they still support me, and they tell me, and they, even after my losses, they're like, Dad, it's fine, we'll get back, we'll get back. They taught me how to believe in myself.
Wow, that's powerful. And it's funny, we're cut from the same cloth. My kids, same thing with me, is they taught me to love myself. And one of the things that I learned from that is until we fully love ourselves, we can't give those things of being present like we talked about.
No, absolutely. I agree. It's like, how can I give my family 100% love when I only love myself 50%? Like, I'm not giving myself, because as much as people hate hearing it, I love my kids and I love my wife. But in the end, their voices aren't in my head. My voice is in my head. I should matter first, because if I work on my happiness, that allows me to open the door for everything else to fully fall into place. I'm a better husband if I take care of myself. I'm a better father if I take care of myself. I'm a better coach. I'm a better team. But it all comes down to looking yourself in the mirror and taking care of yourself first.
Let me ask you this. If your kids were sitting here with us today, what would you want them to say about you as a father?
That he tried. That's it. There's a lot of things I would love for them to appreciate, but I think for them to just know, like, my dad tried his best. If that was what they went with after I passed away, I'll die a happy man, my man.
I talk to my kids all the time, and that's one of the things that I tell them is try. Just do your best.
You're going to fail a lot.
At the end of the day, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I'm going to love you nonetheless, whether you win or lose. Just do your best.
That's all you can do.
What's something that you're passionate about outside of fighting?
Honestly, helping others. There's not really, I started fighting so young. Like a lot of teenagers, they live their teenage years, they do their things. I've been in a gym since I was 15. I did take some years off, don't get me wrong, I retired, but Like I'm really passionate about just this, like teaching people to build confidence and to shoot for their dreams. I just want to inspire. Doesn't matter what they do, skating, drawing, video games, football. I want people to just be inspired. They're like, hey, this guy, he came from nothing. He came from a small town. He was poor, blah 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 blah. Whatever people want to say. Because this is the first time I've really talked about my story, like out there like that, and I just want them to be like, well, if he can do it, at least I can try. All he did was try, and he just never stopped trying. It took me 15 years, but I'm here.
It's crazy how people like us, when you come from nothing, when you come from struggle, they always choose two paths, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to go through the storm to appreciate the good.
Absolutely.
And once we do that, people like us find it motivating to motivate and help others. So, like for
Yep.
me, I tell my story. I got a pretty gnarly story, but I tell people that story not because I want attention, but because I want them to say, hey, if this guy went through all of this stuff and he chooses to be a good person, he chooses to get up every day
Mm-hmm.
when every statistic says he shouldn't and do the right thing and try to help others, I'd be okay with that. If we were to ask three people to best describe you, what do you think they would say?
I would have to say I'm loud. I'm good with people. I really like just being. I don't like quiet rooms, and I like to dance. People don't know, but like if you were in our gym on a day-to-day basis, I have my headphones in, big headphones like this, little headphones, but I am dancing, always dancing. I am moving, grooving. So I think I would have to say I'm loud. I'm good with people, and I like to dance. Not saying I'm good, but I am Mexican, so it's in my hips,
Moves like Jagger. Moves like Jagger.
I prefer Selena, you know what I mean? It's all my grandma. I don't remember it like fully, but my parents used to tell me that like I used to wake up, my grandma would put a cow head in the oven, turn on some Spanish music, and we'd dance for all morning. So I do like dancing.
What's something that you do now that younger you would laugh at?
I cook. Not a lot. I mean, I'm no Gordon Ramsay, but I do wake up every morning and cook my wife breakfast. It's only sausage and eggs, and then I'll like throw burgers on. But cooking a few times a week. I think that is something I'd be like, yeah, not a chance. Not a chance.
What's the hardest truth about yourself that you've had to accept?
I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. I think that's why I love martial arts so much is you're never going to be perfect because there's always going to be somebody better, but I think that would be it. It took me a long time growing up, especially starting fighting so young. I was pretty cocky. I mean, nobody at 16 years old, they don't go in there and beat up grown men for years on end. You know what I mean? In broken down schools. And so it really just not being perfect.
That's a struggle we all have because we have this thing in our head that we always have to be perfect. And I think it's kind of one of those things that, like you said, I think once you find self-love and you start to love yourself,
Absolutely.
you start to accept that I'm flawed and that's okay. The people that are going to love me are going to love me regardless.
Absolutely. Win or lose.
And the people that aren't going to love you no matter how perfect you think you're going to be.
Absolutely.
What's one moment or what was the moment that you realized fighting was more than just a sport for you?
I would have to say my first title fight. I lost my first fight, and then I went on a 3-fight win streak. I mean, I used to fight all the time. There was no commission back then in Iowa, man. I fought Friday and turned around and fought the next Saturday. I think my first year of fighting, I had 11 fights in a year.
That's crazy.
So I was 3-1. I traveled to this guy's hometown in Iowa, Waterloo, Iowa. The guy's name is Joe Ayala. We still follow each other. No way we could fight now, man. That dude's like, now, yeah, jacked now. I mean, I fought him when he was like 35. So we went all 3 rounds, and it went to a draw. And I think in that moment, I'm like, holy shit, this guy's been knocking people out with head kicks. I'm just a kid with a bowl cut, blonde hair, because we bleached it. I was like, I just did that. And in that moment, I'm like, I can do this. And that's kind of where I've been at this whole time.
Have you ever had a night that you walked outside of the cage and you felt like you were a different man?
Yes. There's a few of them. There's a good personal one, would have to be the Ayala one. I walked out and I was like, okay, wow, 16 years old, I can do this. And then in Honolulu, Hawaii. It was my second to last MMA fight. I traveled all the way over there, and it was the first time I got knocked out. Like, I mean, I was out for minutes. Like, my wife told me they had to come in and put water down my pants. You know, I don't remember most of the day. I remember walking out and then waking up on the back table like this, watching myself on the phone get knocked out. So, like, that one kind of, like, really changed, like, who I was as a person. Like, holy shit. Like, you know, like, my mind wasn't really the same after that until I got, because I didn't, you know, I had to let it heal and stuff like that. But I think that was the big one for me. Was after I got knocked out for the first time. That'll put a damper in a guy's ego. You know what I mean?
That would definitely make you see things different. And a lot of people, once they get knocked out, give up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same way with people get that first loss. A lot of people can't handle that first loss.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at Izzy. Izzy wrote off all those wins. He lost that one, and then he's kind of
like, oh.
Yeah, I don't even know if he'll come back.
I think he's kind of like, he accomplished what he did, and he's like, I am happy with it. I did what I needed to, you know. And I think even as a man myself and as a fighter, we need them losses, man, for our mental state, because they teach you who you are. They really do on the inside.
And I think they teach you who you are, and I think it's good as parents for your kids to see you get knocked down and pick yourself up and dust yourself off and keep going and striving to be and do better. It makes it recognize and see those things and push through, you know, with their life. If you could talk to the version of you before your first fight, what would you tell that kid?
You know that feeling in your gut? That shit never goes away. I'm 30 fights in, and even my last one, walking out to fight Chachi, I was like, you know, but like I learned to control it more now. But I think that's what I would tell him. Be like, you know, that nervous feeling, that means you're doing something you love. Don't let it affect you down the road, which it did. I let the nerves get to me a lot in my early career. I was a kid. I was 16, 17, early 20s. But I think that's what I'd tell him. Be like, yo, that feeling, that shit don't go away, my man. Suck it up. Keep going.
My first MMA fight, I remember we trained, and I came out there, and I'm like, kind of the nerves. I'm like, oh my God. But you're trying to look tough. Your family's there. And then it's like, you get in there and the cage closes, and you're like, what was I supposed to do again? And then you're like, all this stuff is running through your head, and then you're like, I don't want to get knocked out. My people are here. I ran across like we were at the club all 3 rounds of my first fight, like I was in the hood. There was I would love to tell you it was skilled and it was whatever. It was not. It was backyard brawl. Yes, 100%.
I know that feeling. I did that all the way up. 100%. I thought that way. When I fought in California against Mike, I went in there like we had this game plan, and that shit went out the window. Like, I even talked to Scott afterwards, dude. I was like, I was nervous. I was walking in the back room, like, whoo, like barking and like looking at Mike and like walking around. Like, I bumped into the security guard, and he's like, were you talking to me? I was like, nah, my bad, man. Not my bad. You know, I was like, this is for my bloodline. This is for my sister. Like, cause like, you know, my sister just passed away. So I was like, just amping myself up, and it went in there and out the window, man. It's a street fight.
When people talk about you 20 years from now, what do you want them to say?
That I was one of the most purest, skilled, bare-knuckle fighters they've ever seen. And I was able to come back from 2 devastating knockouts. I got knocked out in 23 seconds in my first one. I got dropped in my second one at 1:23, but I was just a tough cookie, man, and able to overcome.
If you could sit down with a 16-year-old kid that's making bad choices, what would you tell him?
Like any kid or just me?
Any kid.
Whatever you're going through, my man, it's going to get better. And if it doesn't, then you got some time. You're going to go through some struggles. Life's going to hit you hard. But shit happens, man. It's okay to let out some tears. Get up, dust yourself off. Keep being the best version of yourself.
You know, if fighting was gone tomorrow, what's the next chapter that you would write?
Like career path-wise?
Just in life, what is it? you would do if there was no more?
Probably get into sales, my man.
What would you want to sell?
Well, that's why I'm kind of glad we talked. I got a big interview tomorrow, getting out of the blue collar world to sell insurance.
Oh,
Never,
wow.
I had to go buy business attire, man. I don't have business attire. I looked it up on Google. I was like, what is business attire? I was like, ooh, that is not construction pants.
Chat
Yeah.
GPT.
I was like, ooh, I guess I gotta go buy a button up and some dress pants. But yeah, I think that's because it deals with people, and I just like being and talking and being around people. So I
Well,
think that'd be the next chapter I'd have to be.
Yeah, I think you're super authentic, and that in this world is a rarity for people to be raw and real.
Yeah.
So, that's what I love about this show is it's real people, real stories.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for coming on, keeping it honest and just being real today. For everybody listening, your fight doesn't have to be in a cage to matter. Sometimes the toughest rounds that you're going to go through are the ones that nobody is going to see.
It's the quiet ones. It's the days you look yourself in the mirror. Them are going to be your toughest days. And if you can't look yourself in the mirror, well, you better start doing it because that'll help you out drastically too. You need to start talking to yourself. I carry a journal, my man. People think it's crazy, but I have been writing in a journal every day. If I touch the journal, I write the time. So let's say like every morning I wake up at 6:30, I say, wake up, cooking breakfast for family, and I give a little note of how I feel. 9:30 rolls around, just arrived at the job site. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm going to try to get done today. So like I keep track, and that right there has helped me out on a mental state is keeping a journal.
Everybody, go follow Anthony. Anthony, you want to give him your Instagram handle?
All my handles are bare knuckle _Tony with 2 Y's, and there's a reason I have 2 Y's. If you guys have never watched the movie You Got Served from the early 2000s, where that girl's name is Beautiful, well, guess what? I'm Tony, so I put 2 Y's. So yeah, it's bare knuckle _Tony with 2 Y's on my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube, and then my Facebook is just Anthony, the Devil's Advocate, Yost. This is my fight page.
Go follow this man. Cheer him on. I appreciate you coming on again. You're going to knock it out at the interview tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
If you need anything from me, let me know. You're always welcome on the front porch.
Oh man, I appreciate you allowing me to come on and just have talk a little bit and just kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? Like that's what I like to do. And I do agree. I represent the everyday people. I'm just a guy. I'm just a blue collar worker. I go to work like you guys. I work in the heat, in this Florida heat, and I'm just a dude from a small town of 18,000 people that had a dream that just never stopped trying.
I appreciate you. I'm cheering for you. The people are cheering for you. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much.